The recording, and we're actually live. And a very warm welcome to the fourth session in this year's Tourism Stream, Sustainable Cultural Tourism of the Culture Invest Congress. My name is Mike Adams. I'm your host for this stream. If you've looked at the program, you might be slightly confused. No, I am not Lara Bushman, who was supposed to host this stream. Unfortunately, she fell ill. I hope, in case she will see this or listen to it, I hope you get well soon. So I'm honored to have been asked to step in to act as a host and introduce our speakers. We've had a little bit of a technical hitch, so we've resorted to the old trick of using Zoom and make it available as a recording. I am very happy that we have no other than the Secretary General of the European Cultural Tourism Organization Network, ECTN, with us today. Manos, and now forgive me, would you please say your last name? I'm going to screw it up royally, Manos.
Voudioukes.
Thank you very much for that one. His topic is actually culture and heritage for responsible, innovative, and sustainable tourism actions. Brief introduction to Manos. He received his academic education for the most part at a number of institutions actually in the UK, and also received his PhD at Cranfield University in Bedford. He's been involved with sustainable tourism planning and the subject of smart cities almost all of his career. He's been running his own consultancy for the past 27 years. And without further ado, here is Manos. Please take it from here.
Yes, thank you, Mike. Yes, thank you very much. We'll start with explaining a little bit who we are and what the organization I represent and how we were invited to do this, and to thank the organizers for the invitation. The European Cultural Tourism Network is based in Brussels. It's registered in Belgium under the Belgian law as an international association. We have about 20 members in 30 countries and 30 members in 20 countries. And last year we celebrated 10 years anniversary. It was established in 2009. And we are a founding member of the European Heritage Alliance and the Europa Nostra, which brings together some 35, 40 organizations, pan-European associations on cultural heritage, and also a signatory of the Tourism Manifesto for Growth and Jobs, led by the European Travel Commission, which brings together another 60 pan-European associations, organizations on tourism. We run an annual conference. Last year it was in Granada on this particular theme that we'll cover today. This year, unfortunately, the conference did not take place in Croatia as it was planned because of the pandemic. Next year, we hope to be in Greece, assuming that we get back to some kind of normality very soon. We also run an annual award for Destination Sustainable Cultural Tourism, together with Europa Nostra, the European Travel Commission, and Nextour. This year, we had the Intervitis Cultural Route and the Phoenicians Cultural Route as associated supporters. Our starting point is our charter that was established 6 years ago. And 2 years ago, we had a revision based on the third edition, based on the European Year of Cultural Heritage, 2018. A charter, we consider the charter a statement of principles on regional policies and strategies that guide the development, planning, management, operations, and promotion of cultural and heritage tourism in the European Union, particularly and beyond, to cover the entire Europe continent the 45 members of the Council of Europe, for the benefit of destinations, communities, businesses, citizens, and visitors. The principles of the Charter is to highlight our previous declarations, including ICOMOS, UNESCO, WTO, UNWTO, Europa Nostra, and others. Also, the European Commission communications on this relevant subject of culture and tourism, and also responses, resolutions of the European Parliament, Committee of the Regions, and the European Economic and Social Committee. Also the European Tourism Forum and the Culture Forum. The idea is to have a priority themes for sustainable cultural tourism. And indeed, the Charter in its latest version covers 30 priority themes, including intangible heritage, industrial heritage, heritage interpretation, and innovation, digitization, which is the subject that we'll cover today. But also, we have focus on the European cultural roots, food, gastronomy, and wine tourism. We consider that to be part of cultural tourism experience. Also, the contribution of cultural and creative industries to creative tourism in particular. The Charter led us to develop a project called CRISTA, which is the initials of today's topic, Culture and Heritage for Responsible, Innovative, and Sustainable Tourism Actions. This started in 2016 and finished last month, 2 months ago. It's an international cooperation project under Interreg Europe for improving natural and cultural heritage policies, in particular, improving policy instruments in 9 specific European destinations. Interreg Europe is a program that helps regional and local governments across Europe to develop and deliver better policy by integrated sustainable impact for people and place. The challenges that we addressed, we started from the point that cultural heritage assets are valuable treasures, sometimes in danger and need of protection, conservation, preservation, or restoration. This can be deployed for purposes of sustainable, responsible tourism development, namely cultural tourism and heritage tourism. The tourism potential of cultural heritage assets may facilitate their preservation and restoration if performed in a sustainable, responsible way. Here, we believe tourism to be a catalyst for actually improving and restoring cultural heritage assets. And innovation and digitization can contribute greatly towards improving these cultural heritage policies for sustainable, responsible tourism development. The overall objective of the CRISTA project was to protect and preserve natural and cultural heritage and deploy them for development and promotion of innovative, sustainable, and responsible tourism strategies, particularly on intangible heritage, industrial heritage, through interpretation, facilities, and innovation digitization means, with capitalization of good practices, policy learning, policy implementation, and mostly capacity building of staff, stakeholders, and policymakers. So we have these 4 I's, what we call the 4 I's: intangible heritage, industrial heritage, interpretation, facilities, and innovation digitization, which highlight the need for inclusion of such aspects because of previous low involvement in tourism planning and development, particularly in intangible and industrial heritage, not given enough attention in terms of their tourism potential, and combine these initiatives with interpretation and innovation in order to get more access to the tourism markets. This way to unlock tourism potential, particularly in less known destinations. There are 10 partners. ECTN is the advisory partner, but there are 9 destinations all over Europe, including very well-known destinations such as Veneto region in Italy, not particularly Venice, but the rest of the Veneto region, Paphos in Cyprus, Granada in Spain, but also less known destinations such as Vidzeme in Latvia, Västra Götaland in Sweden, North Portugal, Sibiu, cultural capital in 2008, and Burgas in Bulgaria, and Central Macedonia in Greece, I must say. We had synergies, specific synergies with the Cultural Heritage Count for Europe publication that was published in 2015 from Europa Nostra, which, although it was not about tourism, half of the key findings actually have a direct or indirect reference to cultural tourism. This strengthens our belief that cultural heritage without visitors, it's in danger. The visitors can bring in the extra resources to preserve it and make it available for the society, for humanity to enjoy these cultural assets through cultural tourism, of course, with sustainability. 2017 was the year for International Year for Sustainable Tourism for Development, and one of the 5 priorities was actually on cultural values, diversity, and heritage, which we were a strong supporter of that, with a priority directly related to CRISTA project on improving interpretation and heritage sites. The most unexpected event was that 2018, 2 years ago, was declared as European Year of Cultural Heritage, and that we were able to link up with that and be in the stakeholder committee of the European Commission, DG Education and Culture. Tourism and heritage was one of the 10 initiatives. The others were exclusively on culture, but there was one out of the 10. Actually, some people fought for this to be included, to highlight the value of culture in generating tourism demand and empowering citizens and visitors in that respect. The activities that have been completed under the CRISTA project are 4 interregional workshops on intangible heritage, industrial heritage, interpretation, and innovation. There's dedicated study tour in Veneto region. Staff exchanges between the 9 destination partners on specific topics, and local stakeholder groups that met every 6 months over 2 years in the 9 destinations. The end result was action plans for policy improvements at the 9 destinations. These have been now completed, implemented, including 3 pilot actions in Paphos, Cyprus, Granada, Spain, and Vidzeme, Latvia. And there was a closing conference last year in Granada. Overall, the achievements of the project are 39 actions completed in 9 destinations, including the 3 pilots, 52 policy learning events organized over the 4 years, 21 good practices documented and shared, and some of them transferred between partners, 120 appearances in press and media, and 79 persons have actually increased capacity, coming from staff members, stakeholders, and policymakers. And more than 100 stakeholders have been involved in the process. What has the CRISTA project achieved is to showcase the 4 I's as an effective contributor to sustainable cultural tourism development and promotion in the 9 destination regions, and mainstreaming the results to structural and investment funds of the European Union, particularly regional operational programs like in Veneto, in Central Macedonia, in Greece, North Portugal, Central Romania, and Andalusia in Spain. Also included in 2 tourism development strategies in Paphos, Cyprus, and Vidzeme, Latvia, and 1 cultural strategy in Västra Götaland, Sweden, and 1 local plan in Burgas, Bulgaria. In terms of the results of the 4 I's, starting with intangible heritage, there were guidelines by the University of Barcelona Laboratory for heritage and tourism and culture. In particular, how to exploit intangible heritage to create tourism, sustainable tourism products. Also influencing or making applications to the UNESCO Intangible Heritage, Intangible Cultural Heritage List and the tentative list, transfer of good practices between partners, and particularly in Cyprus, campaign to include the Fitiotico weaving, traditional weaving method as intangible heritage in the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage List. Also in Granada, the Cascamoras Festival and the fishing traditions in the Veneto Laguna, the north Laguna, north of Venice, less known than destination. In terms of industrial heritage, there were guidelines written by the University of Rijeka, the Center of Industrial Heritage in Croatia, with input by the IFE, the European Federation of Associations in Industrial and Technical Heritage, transfer of good practices on this particular topic, and from Västra Götaland region in Sweden, the Prisma platform transferred to Guimarães in Portugal and to Granada in Spain. In terms of heritage interpretation, we relied on the guidelines that we adopted the guidelines from Interpret Europe. Interpret Europe is the European Association for Heritage Interpretation. This was produced 2 years ago as part of the European Year of Cultural Heritage. In fact, won the Spinelli Prize of the European Parliament. And also the certified interpretive guide course that Interpret Europe is running. This was run in various locations. For innovation digitization, we relied on the Europeana platform. Europeana is the platform for digital heritage or digitization of heritage, an independent foundation that is co-funded through European Union DG Connect or Connect Europe facility. And they have produced actually in 2014 guidelines on policy recommendations for the use of European digital cultural heritage under Europeana in particular tourism. In terms of good practices identified, documented, and transferred between partners, we had the Tureda Museum Reserve in Latvia, the Casa de Memoria in Guimarães in Portugal, the Astra Museum Complex in Sibiu, Romania, St. Anastasia Island in Burgas, Bulgaria, Thessaloniki Museums, Archaeological and Byzantine Culture in Central Macedonia, Greece, the experience of the European Capital of Culture in Paphos 2017 in attracting new markets, new tourism markets, and in improving the visitor experience overall. In the Venetian Laguna Islands, the less known destination in Veneto, where the over-tourism in Venice could be addressed through visitors actually being given incentives to visit either islands. And industrial heritage in West Sweden, and the Geopark in Granada, the UNESCO Geopark application that was actually submitted as part of this project by the Granada County Council. Also, we have, I mentioned already, the Fitiotico weaving traditions in Cyprus. There was actually an association founded as part of the project in the Venice Laguna, involving NGOs and small organizations, which on their own, they couldn't do much, but now they have an association on sustainable tourism, and they can do more product development and marketing as a group. There is an app in Central Macedonia for 360 degrees appreciation of cultural sites, archaeological sites. The Prisma platform in Västra Götaland in Sweden, Interpretation Centers Network in Granada, Spain, Intangible Heritage Digitization in Bitsum in Latvia, product development, including gastronomy in Sibiu, Romania, which is last year was the European Region of Gastronomy as part also of this project. ecotourism development in Burgas, Bulgaria, and an industrial heritage route that started in Portugal, north of Portugal, between Porto and Guimarães. We have strong synergies with the initiative of the European Union of the establishing annual award of European Capital of Smart Tourism. This ran in last year and the year before. This year is not actually active. Hopefully next year we'll come back, and we're a very strong supporter of this, because one of the four criteria of smart tourism is in fact cultural heritage and creativity. So to close, the priorities for cultural tourism in the future that we would like to highlight is enhancing interpretation facilities in all of their forms, involve innovative and digital media, capitalizing on the potential of European cultural routes, including the development of new cultural routes. There's lots of potential there, where industrial heritage and intangible heritage can also facilitate tourism development. Promote creative tourism based on cultural and creative industries. This is another initiative that is running now. And finally, the transformation towards smart tourism and smart destinations, including sustainability, accessibility, digitalization, culture, and creativity. So thank you very much. That's all for now. All the material that I explained is in the project website and in our website as well. And we'll be happy to provide any information anybody will ask for. Thank you.
Manos, thank you very much. This has been a fast ride through lots of information. My question would have actually been, how can we find out, or how can interested attendants find out more? You just had on the last slide the information where this can be accessed if a deeper knowledge is desired. I think it's always a challenge when there is only a limited amount of time given for a presentation. Now, knowing what we know now, you could have gone on for 2 hours, but we didn't want to do that. So I'm very, very grateful. Thanks for preparing such a wonderful presentation. And I'm sure that as part of the remit of feedback of the conference to all the participants, they will provide the link for the download. And I hope that we will reach possibly even more people than would have attended, because the last session of the afternoon is usually a bit of a challenge. Let's face it, people are sick and tired of sitting in front of the computer or the laptop. So at least we have this now as well. Many, many thanks. I mean,
can I add
please,
something?
Please.
Of course, because this started in 2016, finished practically in the spring. We were given another 6 months just to close the other aspects, like the financial reporting. But practically all the work was done before the crisis, before the pandemic. So we never took into account what followed. And as we heard also on the previous presentation in Dubrovnik, everybody was expecting this summer to be a great summer, or even the whole year, because last year, actually for Greece, as you probably know, was the peak year for Greece.
Absolutely.
And so this was going to be another peak year. And of course, and also we were addressing the issue of over-tourism. Was not in the main objectives, but it came back every time we discussed attracting more tourists. But you know, in Venice or in Granada, where there's practically over-tourism at some periods of time.
Barcelona, Dubrovnik, I think you name it.
Yeah, but Venice and Veneto and Granada being, in our partnership.
Yeah,
and so
true,
there were many issues around this, but then we went from over tourism to no tourism. And now the challenge is to use this time that we're facing to devise products and services. So when the demand comes back, we're more ready to deal with sustainability in particular.
And to channel the movements in a certain fashion. I think Dubrovnik has done quite an interesting part, but I'm sure your network continues to exchange thoughts and ideas. So I think it's probably a rather positive thing that you came to a closing which wasn't hampered by the pandemic, but at the same time, I would hope that your connection among the 9 are in such a manner that they still exchange their bits and pieces and their findings, would they?
Sorry?
I said they probably do. They're still in contact with each other, those 9 particular locations.
Yes, very much so, because most are members of the network, and we're developing new projects. And now there is the challenge now is the resilience and the recovery plans the member states are submitting to the Commission, and we made a strong case to include the recovery of tourism in those recovery and resilience plans. Because in some cases, like in Dubrovnik, but also in some of our destinations in Paphos, in Thessaloniki, the tourism is fundamental in terms of the economy. And therefore, when conditions permit, there should be the infrastructure and the facilities to have back to normal. But now some small museums, some small SMEs in tourism, they face the possibility of extinction. And
that is all over the place. I mean,
they need this kind of recovery support to be there when the normality comes back.
And whenever that will be.
Well, we hope in the next 2 years we'll be back to full normality.
Would you believe that 2 years from now you're back to 2019 levels already?
Well, as you know, the WTO says 3 years.
Okay.
I personally believe that as we've seen actually this summer, when the lockdowns were relaxed and tourism facilities reopened, there will be an explosion of demand because people will be very willing to go back to enjoy what the tourism gives them. And of course, people will be cautious, some people will be afraid, but what we've seen this summer is that anybody who could travel did.
Yeah.
But
Bonus, thank you very much.
There were so many restrictions that people couldn't travel. So, the demand that actually was 10% or 12% of normal demand. But of course, that's artificial because there was no way that people can travel freely. Once this is available, perhaps we'll be back to some kind of normality. But again, I want to emphasize that when the time comes, we should be more ready to face the sustainability questions and not rely on the previous ways.
Well, I certainly hope that is not only the case for your area there, or for the partners in the network, but honestly, I hope that pretty much everyone is using the time to really rework the plans and work towards a more sustainable tourism future, because we can't go on like this.
Exactly.
So having said that, many thanks for improvising this one. I really appreciate that. I will send you the link as well. And I hope to see you tonight at the award ceremony.
Yeah, I'll try to join that.
Wonderful. Many
Thank you.
thanks. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.